Sarah. How's your sis?
She's good.
Good. Are you guys ready to come back to school?
No, me and my sister aren't going back to school. We're going to do the virtual.
Okay.
Because we have older parents, and so they're at a higher risk.
Right.
And we already risk it by going to the grocery store and my mom working and stuff like that, so we can't risk it anymore.
Yeah, I understand that. So then it looks like I'll probably see you on Wednesdays and Fridays then.
Yep.
Okay. Very good. Hi, Rachel. Oh, look at you. I get to see you. How are you?
I'm good.
Good. So good to have you at Penfield. Were you the one that was at Hastings or no?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I've had family members that live in Hastings. I'm sure you don't know them. They're older, but yeah, I'm familiar with Hastings. So, remember if you ever need anything, just to like stay back and let me know.
Okay.
And I'll be glad to accommodate. Okay, all right. Oh, boy, it's so good to see everybody. Gia and Sierra, Tanner, Trisha. Good to see you guys.
Hey.
Good to see you, Miss Seppa.
Oh, well, thank you. Hi, Monica.
Hello.
Are you, is everybody ready to go back to school? For those of you that are coming back? Sort of. Let's see. If you're considering, and you don't have to answer this, obviously, if you don't want to. It's just, I'm just curious how many of you are coming back. Can you put a 1 in the chat if you are? But you don't have to. It's none of my business until not the following Monday. But I was just curious.
Not like we have a choice because our parents make the decision because they're the ones who take it.
That's right.
My mom and dad are like, you need to go back to school because you need a break.
Actually, technically, that is kind of our choice because my dad asked me if I wanted to do it online. So, and I said yes, and he let me.
So, Tanner, you're going to continue online?
It seems more easier this way.
Okay. All right. Well, everyone has their own opinion.
I'm sure I'll pop in the school a couple of times or two, but I'll mostly be online.
Okay.
For a special occasion.
Yeah, right. Oh, a special occasion. We're gonna have to figure out what that would entail.
Like when we do something, like when the school has something planned.
Oh, let's see. Gotcha. Okay.
It's the little kids. I heard they might be going back 5 days a week.
Yep, that's the plan. Yep.
Is it because we have a bigger group? Is it because high schoolers have a bigger class, probably?
Oh, I think there's lots of variables. It's hard to pinpoint just one, but
at least we're going back. I thought they were going to decide no, to be honest. I thought they were going to decide no.
Oh. Okay. So we're going to start our warm-up like we always do. So remember, you were to make a Google Doc, and you're going to answer the question for parenting on the page. And it is in Google Classroom, the actual place where you will turn it in and where the warm-ups are kept. So we'll start with that first. When I'm doing a bunch of my work, when I have myself on camera, it just doesn't go very fast. So I usually take myself off, not because I want to. It's just, it helps with loading the different things that I need to load. I don't know what I'm doing. What am I doing? Okay, sorry. I don't know. I lost my train of what I was up to here. Okay, so I know what I was going to do. I was trying to put my screen so you guys could see it. That's what it was. All right, so for everybody joining us, good early afternoon, late morning. I'm just waiting to see the presentation screen come up. There it is. Okay. All right, so now I can show you your warm-up question for the day. Okay. So the question is, why is folic acid important in a pregnant woman's diet? So here we go for 2 minutes, right about that. In 3, 2, 1, start. 2 minutes. Hey, Tanner, can I get you to turn your mic off, bud?
Sorry.
Thank you. And when you get done with the warm-up, go ahead and go into classroom and pull up your guided notes that we were working on birth defects.
Did we already turn these warm-ups in?
Nope, this will be our last one for the week. So if you've done them right along with us, I would just go ahead and turn them in once you get them done today. But if you have to tweak them or maybe do one that you missed, then Friday is the deadline.
All right, because mine were turned in, and I'm not sure why, but I was trying to edit it, and I was so confused on why it wasn't letting me.
Oh, I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know.
Because I had it turned in.
Oh, okay. So you had to take it out and then adjust?
Yeah, but I don't know why I had it turned in.
Yeah, I don't know. That's weird. You got 35 seconds. So my plan today is to do a little quizzing on some of the things that we've talked about. And then try to finish up our PowerPoint the best we can. But I do want to introduce the presentation assignment that I'm gonna assign to you. So I'm just kind of introducing it today and giving you time to kind of mull it over and figure out like how you wanted, there's our timer, how you wanted to attack it. And then I can also answer any questions that you have about it. So today's kind of more like, this is kind of where we're going with this. And what's going to be entailed with it. And then there'll be some decisions that you guys will make. Okay. Like what topic you want, if you want to work with other members, things like that. Okay. But I'm going to try to do a portion of the time we have going through the remaining PowerPoints, Google Slide notes, and then spending the other piece of the time talking about our presentation. So that's kind of where we're headed today. All right, so let's go into Quizlet here. And these are a game for anyone to chime in. I don't really see the chat when I'm presenting. So Miss Gray kind of looks at that for me and she helps me out when she needs to. So she'll be monitoring that, but you guys can just unmic, and if you talk over each other, we'll just, say one at a time and we'll hear from everybody. So I'm going to go into flashcards. Maybe I'm already in there. I don't think I am. Okay, so what do you call too many or too few chromosomes? You guys remember? Chromosomal error. Whoops. Oh, that was the end of that. Let's try this again. The study of the way animals and plants pass on to offspring. What is that? These are from our previous notes. Anybody?
Genetics.
Genetics. What do you call the characteristics obtained directly from your genes, like both parents? What's that called? Anybody? I heard somebody come in. No takers on that one? Heredity. What's the basic unit of life? Kind of a science term, but we talk about it in parenting. Starts with a C. Anybody? Cell. A portion of the cell outside of the nucleus. What do we call that? These are also on your test too, guys, so good to practice. What do you call the portion of the cell outside the nucleus?
Maybe it's the mitochondria.
No, I didn't talk about that, but you're kind of in the vicinity.
Oh,
You're close. Cytoplasm.
Why was I like just said cytoplasm out loud, but then I was like, no, that's for a different class, not for parenting.
I don't know. Maybe one of your science teachers are talking about it. I don't know.
Oh no, because I've learned it like my
Oh.
whole flipping education, so it's
I think-
like just
Mhm.
there, you know.
Yeah, common sense to you. It is you should have learned it by now, the cell. I'm sure you learned that in middle school, maybe even elementary. So what do we call the control center of the cell?
it's not the one I said before, right?
Nope. The nucleus. A thread-like structure made of DNA molecules that contain your 46 genes. Know what that one is?
Is it a chromosome?
Yep. Good job. Bands on the chromosomes. What are those called? Those bands.
Genes.
Thank you. And then genes are also referred to as
DNA.
thank you. Yes, good job. Division of the nucleus. Do you remember that one? You can look in your notes.
Mitosis?
Yes. And then the one that talks about the half set of chromosomes. Which one? What is that called?
Meiosis?
Yep. And then when the egg and sperm meet, Brooke, you answered this one the other day.
Conception.
Yep. And then the strongest trait, usually capital letters BB. What is that?
Come on, y'all. You got this.
Our little cheerleader.
Isn't it like a dominant trait?
Yeah, man.
Thanks, Azaria. Very good. And then what is the weaker one, the BB, lowercase?
Recessive.
Yes, thank you. And then fertilized egg starts with a Z.
Zygote.
Yep, thank you. And then identical twins. Monozygote. What are you about fraternal twins? What are they called?
Dizygotic. I don't know.
Yep. And then giving birth to more than one child?
Multiple births.
Yes, thank you. And then when you have joining of two? When they're combined? That word kind of
Conjoined.
Yep. I say that word. Whoops. That word kind of gave it away. There we go. And then when an X gene from the mother is faulty, there's a 50-50 chance the child will inherit that disorder.
Sex-linked or X-linked defect.
Yep. A group of symptoms typical of a particular disease or condition.
Is that like mutation?
No, it's a syndrome. So I always think of like, when I think of a syndrome, I think of signs or symptoms, and I also use the S in syndrome to kind of cue my memory that I know it's an S word. I don't know if that helps or not, but signs or symptoms. And then a condition that is present at birth.
Congenital malformation.
Yes, very good. And then interaction of genes with other genes or with environmental factors.
Is that one mutation?
It's a multifactorial defect.
Whoa.
And then I just gave this one right at the beginning of class. I don't know if any of you caught it, but too many or too few chromosomes.
Chromosomal error.
Yes. Okay. All right. So that, I believe I put that on the Google Stream. So if you need practice with that, it sounds like some of you do, but it could be that you don't want to be on the meet voice wise. I don't know. Taking a wild guess. All right.
Just being a little shy.
A little shy. I can understand that. All right. So now I want to go into our notes. So go ahead and pull that out. It would have been in Google Classroom. And we are kind of filling it out as we go. It's kind of an outline. So as I go through things, you kind of fill it out. Some of the stuff I have filled out for you, and then other things you need to put in there. So just kind of follow along as we go. If you have questions, you can always raise them, and I'll do my best to answer them the best that I can, okay? All right, so let's see. I'm trying to think about time and how much time I want to spend on talking to you about your presentation. So let's try to shoot for, let's see, maybe 12 o'clock. Let's kind of stop with notes and go into the discussion about our assignment, our presentation assignment. So, all right. So the last time we met, we talked about the difference between miscarriages and birth or stillbirth, and then we're kind of getting into birth defects prenatal, which is before the baby is actually born. So we talked about some main ideas. This is that difference between what a stillbirth and a miscarriage is. Biggest difference is when they occur. The types of birth defects that we're going to be discussing, the causes of birth defects, like why they occur, and now I'm just basically breaking those apart and talking about each one. And I believe we ended with environmental causes. So that's where we're going to start with today. Can I get somebody to verify that that's where we ended?
We're at the environmental causes.
Okay, thank you. That's what I thought. Okay, so I'm just going to recap this if I already stated it. I kind of feel like I didn't because I don't remember doing so, but a lot of things transpire in a given day, so I could have. But so just kind of work with your outline and hopefully follow along that way. But early development of embryo is critical. So that's why it's really important for a mom to decide, okay, I know I want to have a child. I'm going to go to the doctor. I'm going to make sure I have all my T's crossed, my I's dotted. So I'm ready to go when I become pregnant. Nutrition balance of a mother's diet. We talked about that recently, about how important that is, and that the mother doesn't need a huge amount of calories extra. She needs, enough that she can help maintain and be healthy herself, along with keeping her baby healthy. Disease or infects the mother has. So, if she has a sexually transmitted disease or she has other ailments or something like that, that could, be a complication with her pregnancy. So harmful substances the mother consumes, alcohol, there's no safe limit of alcohol when you're pregnant. So it shouldn't, like when I got pregnant at 27, and so I was well above the legal age to be drinking. It's not typically a behavior that I am, it's not like a common behavior, I guess is what I'm trying to say, for me. So it wasn't a big deal for me to give it up. But it's something that you have to consider because, this could affect the child. There is a syndrome called fetal alcohol syndrome that does affect a baby, and usually it's when a mother is highly abusive of that substance. But like I said, there's no safe amount, so just keep that in mind. OTC is over-the-counter medications. So you need to make sure that whatever medications you're taking over the counter, whether it be Advil, a cold medicine, an allergy med, or something like that, you want to make sure that you clear it through your doctor, because they may have other types of recommendations that they might prefer you to be taking. Tobacco, whether that's in a vape form, if it's chewing tobacco, whatever type of tobacco it is, tobacco is tobacco. And it does have the possibility of affecting the baby, and can cause some smaller babies, complications during the pregnancy, different things like that. Illegal drugs, those are going to be a little more hardcore, where they're going to affect the child. I did my student teaching at Kalamazoo Central High School in Kalamazoo, and we had the mechanical babies there, but we also had a baby that was supposed to simulate an addiction. And so the baby was much smaller in stature, and it shook violently when it cried, and it would take a lot to soothe it. Okay, so you have to remember that this baby was in the uterus, and the mother was taking these illegal drugs, and so the baby was, in essence. And so when the baby's born, it's addicted to the substance that it now does not have readily available to it. And these children have it pretty rough, and a lot of them don't survive. Okay, so their little systems have just begun to work on their own without their mother's help, and then they're addicted to this substance. So it can be quite painful for them. Some prescription medicines benefit the mother but harm baby. So again, you just want to make sure that it's obviously okay. But some people, you might go to your doctor for your pregnancy, but go see a regular practitioner for something else. So just make sure it's cleared through your the doctor that's helping you along with your pregnancy. Air pollution could play a part, so you just want to be careful that you're not exposing yourself to harmful substances that could filter throughout the air during pregnancy. X-rays, put off some radiation, so you got to be careful with that. Certain chemicals, like if you work somewhere and you're cleaning, you got to be really careful. If you have pesticides kill bugs and different things like that, so you probably wouldn't be gardening and things like that when you're pregnant using those types of chemicals. Okay, so that's just a little chunk of the environmental causes that are out there and that could affect your child. Okay, moving on to hereditary causes. So I just need to know, and remember I talked about on your notes that like here there's 8 bullets, and I may have only put 3 or 4 on your paper. So that would mean that you would have to pick and choose what you write down. Does that make sense?
Can I say something?
Yes.
Ain't hereditary mean something that they pick up from their parent?
Right, yep.
Or they inherit?
Yeah. Yep. And then, Brooke, can I just use you as a sounding board? How many bullets are on that environmental causes section?
Environmental causes, 8.
I put 8 bullets there?
Oh, wait, no, you put 4, but there's
Okay.
8 on the slide.
Okay, so does that make sense to you guys that you would only have to write 4 even though there's 8?
And you guys can also add, 2 bullets into 1. Like, the harmful substances and the prescriptions one can also go into 1 bullet.
Right. All right. So I just wanted, you're not going to get points taken off because I only put 4 bullets there and there's 8 on the slide is what I'm trying to get. Azaria, does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so hereditary causes. Half the genes, remember, come from mom and half from dad. It's normal for children to get 5 or 6 imperfected genes. Most cases, a single copy of a faulty recessive gene will have no effect on baby's development. But sometimes both parents will pass on the same faulty recessive gene, and this does lead to birth defects. So, just because one parent has it doesn't mean that the child will get it. But if they are two recessive genes and it gets passed on to the child, then there's a probability of that. And we're going to talk about some of the genes that are recessive and some of the birth defects that would cause that. So what I'm looking for you guys is just to let me know when you're ready for the next slide. Brooke and Azaria, I'll use you guys as a temperature to let me know when you're ready.
Yep, I'm good and ready.
Okay.
I'm ready.
Okay. Thank you guys. Remember, if I go too fast, you guys have the recording. You can always go back and fast forward or pause or do whatever you need to. And I usually have that in Google Classroom stream the same day. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Okay, so these are just two birth defects that are recessive. Tay-Sachs disease is a lack of specific chemicals in the baby's blood. The body can't process and use certain fats and leads to severe brain damage and death. That will be one of the birth defects that we will have somebody do some research on for us, get a little bit more info to allow us to learn a little bit more about that disease. And then you have cystic fibrosis, which does affect the respiratory and the digestive system. Many that have cystic fibrosis die before adulthood, although treatment now does allow them to live a lot longer. So I went to school with someone that has cystic fibrosis. Usually they have kind of puffy cheeks, and that's one of the physical effects. And they lived up until, trying to think how old I am, yikes, with how old they were, only a year younger than me, and I bet you that she lived maybe late 30s, early 40s. So like I'm thinking like 38 or between 38 and 41. So that's pretty good. But if you look at how much life she had left to live, then it's a little bit
Can I say something?
Uh-huh.
It's about that. They also use these vests that help them get vibration to breathe better.
Oh, okay.
That was just something interesting I wanted to say about it.
So it could be, just as a plug, you could do your report on cystic fibrosis and then you could add that in. That would be something good to know, or you could research it a little bit more. So, okay, just looking for that temperature again between my two temp girls that are helping me out today.
I'm good.
Okay, thanks, Brooke.
I'm good.
Okay, thanks, Cesaria. Okay, so this is just a recessive inherited kind of a look at the pink being the recessive and the dominant gene being the blue. And so if you have two recessives, then that's going to affect the child. But the two children that says affected but carriers, they do have one of the recessive genes. And so they could, when they have their children, they're going to pass on one faulty gene, but if the person they're married to has one of the recessive genes also, then they're going to be just like the pink girl here, is that she's going to be passing that on, or she's going to be the one affected by it. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. If the two dominant genes are there, the child's not affected. If they have the mom's or dad's recessive gene and there's just one, they're just carriers. But if mom and dad contribute to the faulty genes that are recessive, then the child will receive that birth defect. Okay, so dominant inheritance. If one of two parents is affected by a genetic condition with a dominant inherited pattern, every child has a 1 in 2 chance of being affected. So on average, half their children will be affected, and the half and half their children will not be affected, so will not pass on the condition. So one example is Huntington's disease. It does not appear until middle age. It's a neurodegenerative genetic disorder. Neuro means nerves. So that means it degenerates or, causes a lack of your nervous system that affects muscle coordination and leads to mental decline and behavioral symptoms. And remember, it's not crucial that you write every word I have on there down. Just know that the dominant inheritance is affected if you have one or two parents that has that condition.
I'm ready.
Okay, thanks, Rick.
I'm good.
Thanks, Azaria. Okay, so the picture here is showing that if one parent has that dominant genetics, then the child is affected. Okay, so it shows the two, one on the right, one on the left, but if the child is receiving two recessive genes, then they're not affected. Okay. Okay, so now we'll talk about inherited conditions with that X-linked recessive disease that was in our Quizlet. So some only affect one gender. Okay, so that X-linked recessive disease usually occurs in males. So males have only one X chromosome because they have the other Y, remember. So a single recessive gene on that X chromosome will cause the disease. So like hemophilia, that is typically does happen to males. It prevents blood from clotting. Color blindness is usually affecting a male. It's the inability or the decreased ability to see color or perceive color differences under normal lighting conditions. Duchenne muscular dystrophy results in muscle degeneration and premature death. So those are all on the X chromosome. So that would be the male.
On this, did you want us to write what the examples of this stuff? Because there are the examples, but that's like not the example of the example.
Are you talking about like, do I want you to put color blindness down as an example? I would put one of them, yeah. Just to kind of, because when I say X-linked recessive disease, you're like, what? So if you had in parentheses or something color blindness, that would make more sense to you.
Well, because they're all on bullets under it, but
Mhm.
I was just wondering if you wanted us to put what they were next to it.
So like hemophilia, do I want you to put what like prevents blood
from clotting? Yeah.
I would say if you know what it means, you don't need to put that. But if you don't know what hemophilia is, I would put blood clotting, prevents blood clotting, and color blindness. I mean, that kind of speaks for itself,
All right.
Same with the muscular dystrophy. I mean, me that says that the muscles are not working right, and so it depends on if you need that descriptor or not, is what I would say.
Just to let you know, it's almost 12, and that's when you said we're gonna move on to the next thing.
Yep, I got 8 minutes. Thanks, McKenna.
Crap, I forgot to tell you I am done.
Oh, okay, I was waiting. Azaria, are you good?
Just to let you know, a little bit ago she like left. I don't know if she joined
Oh,
back in.
that's fine. Thank you. Okay, so here you see that the male has a recessive X, and if he gives that X recessive to, to his son, because the son can only get the X and the Y. Okay, so when we're talking about this kid that's on the right-hand side got that X chromosome from his dad. And so that's how he, like, let's say color blindness or hemophilia, that's how they got affected. And then the other girl is a carrier because she got that X chromosome from her dad. So she's the carrier, and then the son is the one that is given that recessive gene. All right. Errors in chromosomes. So this is where there's just too many or too few. They're broken or rearranged. Neither parent has the abnormal chromosomes themselves. And so, oh my gosh, scare me. And then, and then some parents, or what am I saying? I just got confused. So for Down syndrome, it's just like an error in the chromosome. So it's 1 in 800 babies that have that issue. And it's an extra copy of chromosomes 21. And then Brooke, I'm just waiting for your cue, okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. All right, we'll probably get maybe through 1 or 2 more, and then I'll talk about that presentation. All right, so interaction of heredity and environment. So some birth defects are a combination of those two. So a child might inherit a tendency that may later lead to a heart defect, a cleft lip and a cleft palate. That is a gap in the upper lip or the palate. This is caused by a number of inherited genes joined with the exposure to certain meds, infection, illness, tobacco, or alcohol during pregnancy. So you can kind of see that it's a genetic exposure. I mean, so it's a genetic inheritance, but it's also an exposure to the environment. Spina bifida, incompletely formed spinal cord. So I have a relative that has spina bifida, and basically what has happened is that his spine curved. Okay, so it's a form of spina bifida. It's a genetic predisposition combined with use of certain meds. So that's usually how or what has caused it. So that's a hereditary genetic factor or an environmental factor.
I'm good.
All right, thanks, Brooke. All right, we'll do one more and then we'll call it on the Google Slides. All right, so prevention of birth defects. Not all causes of birth defects can be anticipated or controlled. Things couples can do to lessen their chance of having a child with a birth defect is to get checkups to evaluate the overall health of the pregnant female prior to the delivery of their baby. Discuss lifestyle changes that may improve the chances for a healthy baby, like don't smoke, or you need to stop smoking, would be examples. Don't drink alcohol.
All right, I'm ready whenever.
Okay. All right. So, I'm gonna go back here. Remember, it's also recorded, so if you didn't catch it all, you know where you can find it. All right. So, I am going to I need to have a couple people break out, and we'll leave a lot of the other people here. Just hang tight for a second. All right. Whoopsie.
Didn't you say for that project thing that you would let us decide if we want to do it by ourselves?
Yeah, I will talk about that.
Because I want to do it by myself because I'm better working by myself than with a group.
All right. I'm trying to. Ugh, this never works out well for me. Let's see. Okay, this is what I wanted. Okay, hang tight. All right. I'm putting together some groups, so just hang tight. All right, here's some wood.
Remember, I don't go with Miss Gray anymore.
Gotcha. Oh, shoot.
McKenna, you can come into the breakout room with me. That's okay.
Okay.
That was more, I think, on the reading of tests and quizzes. So,
Okay.
yeah, this will be okay.
Okay. Let me double check here. Almost there, guys. Hang tight.
Now, since we might be able to go back to school, that might mean we can do the robot babies, right?
We'll have to see. It's all a sanitation thing, so we will see. Okay, I think I'm good. All right.
Do you want us to hang on for a minute before we leave, or just go ahead and go?
I think it's okay for you guys to go ahead and go.
Okay.
So I hope I have everybody that you need. I hope so. Okay, so you should be set, I believe. Okay, so everybody still that's remaining here is who I'm going to be talking to. Brooke and Rachel, you'll just have to let me know at the end of the block how things are playing out for you. But I want to kind of go into Google Classroom. So just, you don't necessarily have to do that as long as you can just follow along as I present it on the screen. So I'm just going to assign it really quickly. So takes a second to do that. And then we'll talk about it. So some of the things I want you guys to start thinking about is if you want to work with somebody on it, it could be 2 or 3 people, you know, more people, more hands on deck, the easier the assignment is. So keep that in mind. I want you to be thinking about if you work in a group, deciding on what birth defect you guys want to research, and then you know, figuring out who's going to do what. I want to do like a day of notes, like we work on notes, and then the other part of the half of class will be dedicated to you guys working in your groups. on the assignment. So if you look on your screen right now, I have a document that gives all the birth defects. Maybe I'll show you that first. So hopefully you can see this. It's a little small, but hopefully we can get it to present here. Okay, so, and these are not limited to all that there are available. So it's like you're thinking you got something going on that you want to ask me about because it's something you're familiar with, we can talk about that. So the options are muscular dystrophy, cystic fibrosis, fetal alcohol syndrome, cleft lip, cleft palate, hemophilia, Marfan syndrome, clubfoot, Down syndrome. Hold on. Cerebral palsy, spina bifida, progeria, sickle cell anemia, achondroplasia, congenital dislocated hip, Tay-Sachs disease, PKU, and then Fragile X syndrome. Now, like I said, these aren't the end-all be-all. So if you've heard of one that you would like to research, we can talk about that. But these are your options. And then in Google Classroom is the actual page. So like, for example, these are all the same. It's just what birth defect you choose. So if you do muscular dystrophy, you're going to give me an overview of what that is, how common it is, what are the different types of MD, and which is the most common. What are some common physical traits of individuals with MD? What causes MD? What risk factors there are for MD? How is it diagnosed? How is it treated? How to prevent it if at all possible? What is the average life expectancy or range of an individual with MD? What are some common medical problems or conditions associated with MD? I do want to see some images of MD or conditions associated with MD. And then, so those are all the things you need to have in your presentation. So your group will be responsible for teaching the class preceding information. Equal participation by all group members is required. So like when you're presenting, each person needs to present the equal share. We'll have an evaluation at the end where your peers will get to evaluate your contributions to the presentation. Some things you want to think about are the organization and the flow of the presentation. Your visual aids, I don't want to see like a walrus on your slide when we're talking about spina bifida. It has nothing to do with what we're talking about. Okay, so it's got to have like a mature look that, if you were presenting in front of a crowd of people that had no idea what spina bifida was, you would be a good presenter and that they wouldn't be distracted by other things on your slides. Google presentations is how I would do it. So you want to make sure that you share every time with your group members. So if you have a primary person that has the Google slides, make sure you share it just in case they're not in a meet on a certain day. We want to always continue to move forward on our assignment. You need to title your presentation with the topic you are researching and the hour, which, hour is not that important because I only have one parenting class. Delivery, I want to see that you actually learn something by researching it. Your tone, your volume, how you pronounce things. So if you present and you don't know how to say something, that tells me you didn't really practice it, because you can go online anywhere, put a word in there, listen to how it sounds, and be prepared to pronounce it that way. And practice always helps too. So like going over your part, knowing what you're going to say, how you're going to say it, are going to be key components. I want to see that every group member participated in some form or fashion in the presentation. The vocab, just try to pull this one. I'm not going to be too stringent on, but if it's a new vocab word, maybe underline it in your presentation, and then have an interactive portion. So these are things that are going to be important for people to know. So just like I did the guided notes, that's just one thing that you could do is maybe a guided Google Doc that they could open and then write down some of the main important factors that you're presenting on. And then they would have that information for the test or something along those lines. It should be, between 5 and 10 minutes. I mean, there is quite a bit to research and to look up and to be prepared to present. So I kind of left it between 5 and 10. Especially if you're doing the interactive piece, you have, students taking notes, which takes a little bit of time, as as I do them. So you're not going to just be racing through the slideshow. You're going to have to pause and give time for them to, write down some of the things that you're talking about. The interactive piece is totally up to you how you want to do it. Guided notes was just one thing I was thinking of. But you could do a Quizlet at the end of your presentation on some of the vocab words you use or some of the information, just as like a quick, let's go through and see what you learn type of thing. But there's lots of things out there. You could do a crossword. I mean, there's so many things that you could do to interact with your audience. So those are just some things. And then it just goes down and just goes through the different birth defects. So obviously, if you chose, let's say, cleft lip, cleft palate, you would be working from this part of the document. Or you could always, copy and paste that into a new document. That would be fine too. Okay, so now I will take any questions that you have on this assignment.
How long does our Google presentation have to be?
5 or 10 minutes. 10 would be.
I mean like how many slides?
For me, I would say the less on the slide, the better, just because you don't want it to be too overwhelming. You could also use the notes down at the bottom of a Google Slides and, maybe print those off, or I use my phone a lot of times. So I just download the Google Slides from the Google store. And then when I'm presenting, I just go and make sure that I can see it with notes. And then I'm just looking at my phone as I'm presenting to you guys, looking at my notes and what I want to remember to say or how I want to say something or along those lines. So I would probably say, for me personally, I would do every bullet would be a slide, in my opinion. But sometimes you get a lot of information and you might have to break it up into 2 just so that it's not overwhelming for the person viewing it. Does that make sense, Azaria?
Yes, that does make sense.
Okay, I'm going to try to, I don't want to, I was going through the chat because I didn't want to click on something and lose those groups. So anyway, all right. So the reason I'm just kind of presenting it today is I'm just trying to get it in your head, giving you time to think about it. So be thinking about, like, do I want to work with somebody on this? Do I want to do it myself? Do I know 2 or 3 people in here that I would want to work with? I'm not going to take anything today, but I wanted to give you an opportunity to kind of think about it. And then I also want you to have time to think about the topic that you want. So I'm not going to take anybody telling me what topic they want. We'll do that on Monday. So it gives you kind of over the weekend to mull it over, figure it out, talk to people in the class that you may know that you may want to kind of group up with them. Try to group up with, someone that's going to be willing to do their fair share, because nothing worse than having to carry everyone on your back when, it's 3 people being scored. So something to think about. Any other questions that you have? I think I answered yours, Sierra. At least I hope I did.
When's the due date?
Okay, so that has not been set up yet because, virtually it's an uncharted water, let's say that. And so as of right now, I'm not putting a deadline on it. I know that next week I'm going to figure out who's doing what with whom. And that'll take a little bit of time. And I still need to finish my slideshow with you. So I would say next week we'll do some notes for 15 minutes or so. We'll talk about the presentation, and the remainder part I'll put you in your groups if you're going to be in groups, if you're going to be by yourself. But that'll be time for you to kind of start in on your research and figure out, kind of your game planned. I would stay away from any websites that's a .com. Always try to go to the govs. Those are EDUs, things like that, because .com's not always as reputable. And try to find things that are current. You can always scroll down on the website and just see when it was last updated. So that's going to be kind of important. I'm reading what was in the chat. Okay, so you can either work A by yourself, B with one other person, B with 2 other people. That's totally up to you. I want to keep it as 3 being the highest amount and 1 being the lowest. Yeah. So as of right now, next week, it won't be due next week. I think we need a little bit of time to work on it. Doesn't mean you can't work on it outside of class, but if I dedicate class time, I mean, why not work on it right then and there, because you're with your group members, you guys can talk about it, you can delegate. I'm going to have Rachel go and do questions 1, 2, 3. I'm going to have Azaria do 4, 5, 6, and then I'm going to have Brooke do 7, 8, 9, and delegate it out, so that they're responsible for certain aspects of the presentation and then come back together with the research. And Brooke could be the main person on the Google Slides, or she could share it with Azaria and Rachel, and they could be doing their slides while she's doing her slides. So there's lots of things that we still need to do, and it's going to take a little bit of time. So each day we meet, we'll be working on it. Any other questions? Think about it for a second. Something might come up in your head. Okay, so what I would say to you is sometime between now and Monday, come up with a game plan on who you want to work with, if anyone, and then what subjects you really would like to choose, and have a couple 2, 3, 4 ideas just in case somebody picks your birth defect. Okay. And then I would say on Monday, we'll just do a little talking on the notes, and then we'll spend a good majority on our project, kind of getting it going. So that's all I have. If you think of other questions that you might have, and we're not in class, you can always email me and we can talk about it then. But as of right now, if there's no other questions, you're free to go. But stay behind if you want to ask me one-on-one, because I'm going to sit here until 12:20 when we actually get out. Brooke.
Hey.
Hey.
So,
do you think you'll work with someone, or do you like to work alone, or how do you want to work that?
I will probably end up working with someone.
Okay.
Just because, yeah, I'm not the best at getting my words out how I want them.
That's okay. So, but I think, with the 504, if you have, it kind of breaks up the work a little bit for you. And that's kind of what we want for you, so that you don't become overwhelmed with all the things that you need. So as long as you can find someone in the class to work with, I think we're okay with your 504. But if you do find that, you're struggling in an area, let me know.
Yeah, I was thinking about working with Azaria.
Okay.
Because I know that her and I could probably end up hanging out or sometime if she was down to do that. So,
okay.
But I also had a question.
Yeah.
So is this just on birth defects, or is it also on genetic disorders also?
I kind of want to stick to birth defects because, we're in parenting. But if this was what are you thinking?
Well, I have a genetic disorder, and it's called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. I don't know if you've ever heard of that.
Is that something genetically from your parents?
There's many different types of it, but yeah, it's a genetic condition. It comes from your parents. It's inherited by your family and stuff.
All right, let me write that down so I can look it up and just kind of.
I'll put it in the chat so you can spell it.
Okay.
But yeah, I was just wondering about that. If not, it's not a problem.
Yeah, I'll look it up and then I'll give you an answer on Monday.
All right.
And then, you have a partner too, so you'll have to kind of see if that's kind of where they are, would they mind,
Yeah.
And then if they have another thought or idea, just be open to that. But I'll look this up and then kind of do some research on it on my own and then let you know.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. All right. We'll talk to you soon.
Yep. See ya.
All right. Bye, Brooke.